Меня зовут Toyva. Это моя история.
Before the war, I lived in the territory of modern Moldova, which back then was part of Romania. In 1940, the annexation of these lands to the Soviet Union occurred. When I recall those times, a sound of music comes to my head. A brass band was playing in our town almost for a year. In addition to free entertainment, other opportunities for younger people became available. Since we became part of the USSR, for example, free tertiary education, unfortunately, not many were able to exercise this right. World War II had begun, either because I came from a family of hereditary carpenters, shipbuilders, or by simple coincidence, but during that war I was chosen rather for building things than destroying them. Events from the outbreak of the war were developing rapidly. Since I was already over the enlistment age, I was immediately mobilized to the Soviet army and joined a military unit, which was retreating to a city of Rostov. Shortly after, we were allocated to a reserve division, organized for training of the raw recruits. After taking the military oath, we started learning explosives and mine clearance. This kind of sophisticated training was accompanied by intense involvement of personnel in construction of pontoon bridges and crossings. That period of preparation for the battle was a very difficult experience for me, due to a language barrier. By the time the war started, I was barely speaking Russian, because I finished at a Romanian high school. Many of my fellow countrymen were in the same situation that I was, causing various awkward moments. One such moment I remember was related to the taking of the military oath. As the oath was declared in loud by the division's commander, the text of the oath was simultaneously interpreted to us in Moldovan, and we together in unison were repeating after each paragraph, "I swear, I swear, I swear," in Russian. As the training continued, we were picking up the language along with the military discipline, and having learnt as much as we could, we went to the fighting. My war did not go from one famous battle to another, such as Moscow, Stalingrad, Kursk, and so on. A motorized pontoon bridge battalion, Pisanechki, was advancing from one crossing to another, and from building of a bridge to detonating, sometimes the same bridge. Moving this way, we passed the whole territory of Crimea, Kuban, and the Caucasus. We were then deployed to Romania, then to Finland. There were still traces of the terrible war of 1939. And finally we came to Norway, where we eventually took part in the history of great battles of World War II. The Norwegian event, which many historians call the Petersmo Kirkes operation, took part in extremely difficult conditions, with heavy losses to the personnel. While retreating to Kirkenes, the enemy was constantly destroying the roads and setting up a variety of roadblocks and barriers. The way to Kirkenes was loaded with mines, and a suspension bridge over the fjord was blown up. The fighting for Norway required cooperation from multiple divisions of the Soviet Army and competent use of military equipment. The battle involved participation of ground troops, which were under the command of the namesake of the legendary Marshal of Victory, Major General Grigory Andreevich Zhukov, Marine Corps units, Navy, and our engineering troops. The local anti-Nazi resistance groups, Norwegian partisans, also gave us a great deal of help. They knew the terrain very well and repeatedly went to the sea on their motorboats and fishing boats, rescuing our sailors and Marines who were trapped in the freezing Norwegian waters in that cold month of October. After the liberation of Norway from Nazi occupation, we were transferred to Russia's far east, to the city of Blagovenchensk. We were resting and reorganizing for a few months, and then faced a new serious opponent, the Kutang Army. The Japanese fought with fanatical dedication. I personally saw bodies of the enemy soldiers with opened up bellies from committing ritual suicide, harikari. But as they all say, all battles come to an end. So this one too was over. Our division finished the war in a well-known city of Harbin, where we met many Russian immigrants living there since the Civil War of 1917 to 1921. Though my story might seem mundane and even a bit boring, I had a chance during that war to witness many interesting, albeit horrible, events. I was wounded by shrapnel in both legs, but considering myself getting away lightly, it was the only serious injury for the 5 years of the war, from 1941 to 1946. I was awarded 2 Orders of the Patriot War and many medals, including the Medal for Battle Merit, the Medal for Victory over Germany, and the Medal for Victory over Japan. After the war, in which my whole family was killed, I returned to the homeland, found a job as a carpenter, and had worked in the profession until my departure to Australia in 1993. In Australia, my military service in World War II is well recognised. I have been awarded an Anniversary Australia Medal for contribution to the victory of Japan. The heaviness of that battle the Australians experienced themselves. My pension comes from the Department of Veterans Affairs, and I am receiving regular visits from the Returned Services League of Australia. What else to say? My son lives in Canada, as my 2 grandchildren and 2 great-grandchildren. Unfortunately, my wife has passed away recently. I'm all alone, even though my comrades who still manage to stay on their feet pay occasional visits. A very few of us is left on this earth.
Baruch Shem Kavod Malchis Elolam Vuot. Vayavta es Adonai
במהרה בימינו, תעשה חלקנו בשרתך. שבונה בית המקדש במהרה בימינו, תעשה חלקנו בשרתך.
Shema Yisrael. Adonai